Okay, you don't have technical problems, it's just not a real geek thing. So anyways, how many people here are new? I made that. Okay, so wow, so lots of new people. So I will go through the spiel that I try not go through anymore. So if you don't know who I am, I've done technology since 1996, started off in the Army, went to the corporate world, was a consultant, had my own business with 9 employees, zigged when I should have zagged during the Great Recession, wound up being a YouTube creator. I've been creating technology education on YouTube since 2009. Social media is much wonkier than people realize it is, and so I have this idea of what if we did basically authorityless, gatekeeperless, free to end user, hands-on technology education here in Asheville, North Carolina. And I have a 700 square foot classroom over in Hatch 2, and we do classes on Python and AI and all kinds of different things. And basically, the concept is can we make technology education just available to people? Everybody knows that technology education is good for everybody. If you learn how to do Python, you increase your marketability. It's better for the tax base because you pay more in taxes. It's better for the employers because they can get higher level employees. And yet we have this weird system where, okay, in order to make society and everyone better, you need to sign a contract for $20,000 before you even know if you want to do coding and go down that whole path. And so basically the idea is, hey, can we just get rid of all of those steps? You just come in, you learn. If you like it, you keep coming. If you don't like it, you leave. That's fine. Again, so doing YouTube videos, I've literally met people all around the world. I was in the Roman Forum, getting over a hangover, trying to figure out whether this wall mattered or that wall mattered, when I had a Pakistani couple come up to me and go, oh my God, you're Eli the computer guy. And I was taking selfies with a couple from Pakistan in the Roman Forum as I was thinking I have a very weird life. Like literally, I was here in Asheville, and there was a black guy who walked up to me at a bar. And he's like, oh, I'm like, yeah, I'm Eli, the computer guy. He's like, no, you don't understand. I'm like, I'm pretty sure that I do. He's like, no, okay. And he is from Africa, and literally he lived in a village that had no internet connection. He would walk to a village with internet connection to download my videos, go back to his village to watch them, and now he's in university in Cincinnati. And so that's the kind of thing, like, when I talk about the power of free education, people are like, yeah, whatever. And it's like, no, I've met these people. It's truly bizarre. And so again, that's kind of what I'm trying to do here is, can we make technology education just simply accessible to everybody? So with the Fireside Chats, the point of this is I've met a lot of my viewers over the years. One of the problems we get to in our society is we hyper-focus on education, but we don't explain to people what the hell to do after education. One of my viewers literally had his master's degree in IT, had his MCSE, had his Security Plus, and his question to me was, Eli, what do I do next before I get a job? I was like, get a damn job. What the hell's wrong with you? But again, psychologically, people are so focused. Like, we teach people to learn, and we don't actually give them the damn off-ramp, like, right? And so why I'm trying to do these Fireside Chats is to bring in local technology people or people ancillary to technology that are either founders or CEOs, basically have good narratives, have good stories, to talk about what it's like to do technology here in Asheville, North Carolina. What is it like with vendors? What is it like with taxes? What is it like with employees? You know, how do you go about doing all the things that you do? And that's basically what we're trying to do here. Because again, so many times when we hear about how to build businesses, we hear about it in San Francisco or in DC or Austin. And to be clear, they are not lying, nor are they being nefarious. But what you do in San Francisco has nothing to do with what you're going to do here in Asheville, North Carolina. So that's what we're trying to do. I would like to thank, we have our first pizza sponsor, Stand Up Pizza sponsor. Amazing. So Steve Newman of ERC Broadband brought in absolutely awesome pizza because they want to support the tech community. So if you need a fiber optic connection to your business, remember who bought you really good pizza, because that's really what's important. Also, I'd like to thank Hatch. They give us the use of this space. If you don't know about Hatch and the co-working facility, it's absolutely an awesome thing. And I think that's about all I got to say for now. So we have Ric Pratte. Right, Rick? I'm not messing that up. I get so screwed up with names. Come on over. There you go. So Rick is, I think, we're going to figure all that out. He's with Digital Nomads, and the rest we'll figure out. Yes, you can say. No, you got to stand there like a bad little boy. Stand. So I'm going to show you. So press the on button until it turns on. Until it turns on. There we go.
Hello.
There you go. The first test, can you turn on your microphone?
Only with instructions.
Only with
but education.
there you go. Okay, so first question, since this is going to be on YouTube, and you have to understand, the answer that you give to this may cancel your career forever. It's horrible. What is your daily driver? Because people on YouTube give a crap about what computer you use every day.
What computer I use? I use a Mac.
Oh, you use a Mac, okay.
And Mac Air.
Mac Air, okay.
Yep.
There you go. Okay. That's just one of those
So we'll keep going on that.
Okay.
As you notice, I am on the young side. So I had one of the first 1,000 Mac 128s.
What was a Mac 120? I don't even know what that is.
With the first 1,000 Macs. How's that?
Really?
Yeah.
Do you still have it?
Yeah, it's in my, I don't have the keyboard anymore or the OS, but I do still have it.
How much was one of those things worth?
I don't know, it was like $3,600 to buy it in 1984. How's that?
Holy crap, that was a long time ago.
So,
Okay.
been a Mac user for a while.
All right, good deal. Okay, so you are with Digital Nomads. I cannot figure out your org chart worth it damn. So are you the head of Digital Nomads? Do you have a head?
Good question, huh?
Remember, it's on YouTube.
Thank you, Steve. So I am the founder
You're the
of
founder.
AVL
Okay,
Digital
yeah.
Nomads.
Yep.
I like to think we have a super flat organization,
Okay.
so I can see why it would make it harder to figure out.
Yeah.
And from day one, I always wanted it to be bottom-up, community-driven. So a whole bunch of great people here that are in here, cocktails and marketing and leadership, they're the ones who are putting on a lot of the events and coming up with them.
So Corey and Sarah that are at a lot of things. So they're co-organizers. So are they?
They're also lead, so we have three of us
Okay.
who are lead organizers. Yeah.
Lead organizers. Oh, okay. So that makes sense. Okay, so then how did this get started? So you're the founder. So how did you decide to start Digital Nomads?
I've been here 3 years last week, and I've been in tech my entire career and came from north of Boston, been remote for quite a long time. We did the downsize thing, kids are gone, new house, all that. And, well, okay, pandemic, of course, 3 years ago, and working from home, so I need to meet people. And I got involved with Venture Asheville, being part of the mentorship program in Elevate with Jeffrey Kaplan. And so I met a few people there, and like, well, I want to meet more. Okay, what do you do in Asheville? But you go to breweries and have a drink with somebody. So I did that a few times, and then started having an idea of, well, let's just get some people together and try it. So I passed the idea in front of Jeff, and you were there this morning at the event, but also with Clark, and they gave me really positive vibe, like this would be helpful if we did this. And Ben Newton, who started it with me, he runs Startup Pluritum in town. And so we had a few beers that night and talked about it. And then I went to the restroom, came back and goes, oh, we're on Meetup. Cool. And many beers later, here we go.
So then originally, who were your target demographics originally? Because when I originally saw Digital Nomads, I actually did the Digital Nomad thing with my wife in 2015 with the travel trailer and all that. And I thought it was actually for nomads. Like I literally was like, oh, I want to go, but I've got a mortgage. It's not for me anymore. Like, were you going for nomads or was it always more like remote workers?
Always remote workers. AVL Digital Nomads, pure branding. Because AVL remote workers just didn't have the ring to it. So we went digital nomad, but then byline, social community for remote workers to emphasize that. But it was all about the brand.
Okay. And are you okay with like non-remote people? Because I've noticed that like you guys have just become like the meetup to go to. So it's all just locals who may actually have just a normal 9 to 5 job, or are they allowed to?
We're not hardcore. We do not check resumes at the door. So we are very open and friendly and so forth. Obviously, it is the community we're going for, but there's a lot of stay-at-home parents, right? Bennett back there, getting cared for, who they're work from home. Well, whatever. The original work from home.
That's cool. So now you're 2-ish years old, like 2 and a quarter?
Yeah, 2 years in June.
2 years in June.
You were at the birthday party.
Was I?
Yeah, you were. I know.
I
You were hungover.
I was at the first year's birthday party. I don't know if I was at the second. I don't know. Who knows? Okay. So you're up to like 2,000-ish people now. Like, how did it start though? Was it 0 to 100 immediately, or like what was your first couple of meetups like?
We had no idea what to expect, so we just threw it out there. What I said, and people started signing up. A couple of weeks went by, and we should probably put an event together. So we did our first event at the Wedge, June of 21, and 35 people-ish registered. More importantly, 35 people showed up. And I'm like, well, now my world before, like I said, in the Boston tech community, all tech, all dudes. That's just the way it was. So when I'm seeing gender split right down the middle, and talking to psychologists and medical health, telehealth people and salespeople and accountants and all these other remote jobs, it was so refreshing to me to talk to different kind of careers. And I'm like, oh, this is pretty neat. And then Sarah, who you mentioned before, was on that first meeting. And as some people know here, if anyone says, hey, can I help? You're in. And so she started right away helping with events. And again, next one was 30-40. 30-40 showed up. And then it just started out that way. But we kept about that size per meeting for a number of months. Yeah.
And then, so did you have like agendas? Was it literally just get together for a beer? Or you're like, hey, let's do cornhole or something? Like, did you try to make it around something or just show up?
We kind of like lean. We experimented with a lot of things intentionally. Our first one was we're warm and welcoming and inviting. We wanted to be Asheville. We want, no matter what, come on in, be part of the group. It's social. It is not business networking. We're not here to press the flesh. So that was our first. That worked. We'll do programming. We'll talk about things people would want to do, work from home and your desk setup. I don't know, whatever. And yeah, let's do that. No one cared at all. Let's drink. Okay. So that, and so we just kept that. And then we would play with things like, let's ensure the not networking. So we did some events like, you can't ask, where are you from? What do you do? When did you move here? And just different ways to get to know people.
And so originally, like, how many events were you doing? Was it 1 per month or 2 per month?
About 1 a month. Yeah.
It was 1 a month originally. And so, like, I met you, I guess when you had your first birthday party, and that's when you first started to take off because you were in some kind of newspaper or something?
Somehow, at that time, we were probably 700 people at the time.
I think you were less than that. I think you had been like 400.
Yeah.
And like when I was talking to you, you're
Maybe
like, you gained
500,
like 200 people in like a week or something.
And some news in Atlanta found us. And it was revolved around, Asheville was like the 7th fastest growing tech. And maybe it was digital nomads that they reached out and we started talking. So we got in 2 articles and then there we go, yeah.
Okay. So have you had any problems with that kind of growth? Because everybody's like, hey, growth would be awesome. But like when you start growing at your speed, that can get a bit daunting and actually problematic. Have you had any issues with the growth?
Short answer, I don't think so. But I was nervous or anxious about, I want to fulfill our mission. And our mission is about connecting people. And when you have 1,000 people, and back then, how do we really get everyone to connect? How do we have more events? How do we have different ways? We have a lot of introverts. So when you're having, as you know, growing, and we're having 100-person, 120-person events, that gets daunting for a lot of introverts, to come. So Sarah came up with, let's do lunches. So they've been a really popular thing. 20 people meet up at a restaurant for lunch. Much easier way, much, more effective for an introvert to be comfortable in those different things.
And with that growth, so you had the Atlanta news thing. Have you had any other articles? Has there been anything else that's helped spur your growth, or has it just been organic essentially?
You get placed in AVL Today newsletter. That helps a lot.
Really? Okay.
So we've had it twice. Once, we made 3 times. Just after that article, that helped. Last year for an Entrepreneur Week, and then last week, we're here.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so with the work, it seems like it'll be a lot of work. Because again, that's one of the funny things, and we'll talk about later, that it's not a business. But I mean, is this as much work as it seems like? Because that's what I would always give Corey and Sarah crap. Because I'm like, oh, look at all the work that you're doing that you're not getting paid for. Is it as much effort as it seems, or is it actually easier than it seems?
It does. It has gotten more complex, but running an event many of the events, is showing up, putting a sign down and going. When it was 50, 60. You get to 100, 200 people at an event, then you actually have to call them ahead. By the way, you may want to put an extra bartender on. And so now that part has gotten more complex. But it's also more fulfilling.
And so how have you found the Asheville venues? Because I used to help out with Meet the Geeks. And again, I came from the Baltimore area. So in the Baltimore area, if you went to a venue and you said, I'm going to have 50 people come and buy at least a couple of drinks each, they would be like, would you like appetizers? How can we help you? The thing that I found when I was going and helping Meet the Geeks is I would go to venues and they'd be like their nice response was, sure, if you can find room, fine. And then actually what I found very weird was there was actually some almost hostility. You want to bring 50 more people to our place? And I'm like, what? Aren't you a business? How have you found it with venues? Do the venues want you? Do the venues try to attract you? Do the venues try to get rid of you?
No one has ever tried to get rid of us, so that's good. Most of everyone wants us. Now we have a name, so we do attract, and it's helpful. We have people who offer space. So Holly here, we're doing a leadership series now. And so Mojo Co-working and Holly leads this, by the way. And they've offered her space every month now, to get us to be in their space. So, like Hatch and other co-working places, we are their market. So they want us there. And then in the bigger ones, there is a little bit of a sales job of, if we're going to bring 200 people to you, can we have the whole space and we'll be buying the beer. So that does take a little more sales work.
But so you found, because with the breweries and things, they're pretty amenable to having you there.
Yeah.
Any issues? Yeah. And so then how do you pick which venues to go to? Why would you go to Voyage or Highland, or how do you decide that kind of thing?
Someone from the group wants to go. Rock, I'm going to keep picking on everyone here. So Rock started a cocktail event because there's all the breweries, but now a lot of people don't always want to drink heavier beer, right? And there's a lot of really good cocktail venues. So Rock came up with the idea, drove it to now we're doing different cocktail hours. Anoche was last month, right? And just so what I like is coming up. He drove it. It's his idea. Yeah, it isn't all. You talked about work, not when everyone's sharing the load.
And with this kind of thing, so at this point, you're not anything. You're not a 501c. You're not an LLC. You're just a meetup. All right. Well, again, we're in the modern world of America. So, I mean, is there liability concerns with what you're doing?
Yeah. Well, it first hit me when we do some recreation, outdoor recreation, some hiking, I've done paddling, things like that. And all of a sudden I realized I was out one of the groups. We were doing the fireflies thing, and it's pitch black, couldn't see a thing, holding on to each other's shoulders. And I'm like, this is trouble all over. And so that's when it hit me, is we need to get a veil.
So that's why. So you're going for the 501c3 now.
Yes, so we're going to be a nonprofit.
So why nonprofit over an LLC?
Still, I really feel we're a community-driven organization. So I want it, I don't want to be driving profit. I want to be driving that we're all communal, we're all going to have this together, is my thinking. So you're going to go with this. I know you are. I'm going to beat you to it. So a revenue model will become, or is in the process of sponsorship, corporate sponsors. And so being a nonprofit, then they get a tax deduction.
So, I mean, what I find curious, again, especially Asheville. Asheville is a very weird place when it comes to business. And again, I completely understand not driving the organization based off of profit. But I've known a lot of people in the meetup world, in the event world, and there's a lot of money. Like, I had a buddy of mine, and we'd be sitting there talking, and people would be trying to stab him with $4,000 checks. He'd be like, Eli, I'm sorry, I have to stop this conversation. I need to go take $4,000. And so, like, with you wanting to be a 501c3, is there, like, are people willing to give you money? Like, maybe it's harder to get money in Asheville than I give it credit for. Like, is there something like anti-LLC, anti-profit?
Don't confuse getting money to being a nonprofit. I had a whole career in the nonprofit world. I sold software to nonprofits, had 3,300 customers as nonprofits. My core line was, it's a tax status, not a business strategy. Harvard is a nonprofit. They've got a lot of money. So I want to get a lot of money, because with a lot of money, we can do more things. So I'm not anti-revenue or anything like that. In fact, I want to drive that. It's just, I'm not going to try and get shareholders rich. I'm going to try and develop the organization.
Okay, so with this, again, we were at a meeting today where they said that the new employees here are theoretically making $82,000 a year. So you're not anti-paying an employee $82,000 a year to do something at some point?
No, I want to grow the organization, and we'll need capacity within it.
So, like, with you, like, it was interesting because I was just taking a look at the whole 501c3 status. I was talking to the lawyer. And there's a whole thing with this. So you've got your board, but then you've got the executives of the company. And there's a whole mess about when people are on the board are also executives and the whole 9 yards. Do you plan to be a board member or to be the executive of the company, or do you want to try to do both?
To start with, to get it on the ground, I'll do both. And then we'll transition to more of a standard board staff model. We're a long way from having staff.
But are you, I mean, I don't know. That almost seems sad. Because, I mean, you have 2,000 people. You have 100 plus people showing up to these events.
Yeah.
People are not stabbing you with $1,000 checks?
If they are, if you would let me know, it'd be great.
Really? Okay.
So we're working on it. That's, yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. How big do you think your board would be? Again, one of the things I found interesting with Asheville, they seem to like really big boards around here. Like, how big do you think your board will be?
We're going to start with 3 just for getting started, but 5, 7, then let's keep it at that. You want to talk about United Digital Nomads?
Well, yeah, I was going to tell you. Yeah, so there's Digital Nomads, and then, yeah, so what is United Digital Nomads?
So the incorporation is actually United Digital Nomads. And right now, as a DBA for Asheville, AVL, Digital Nomads. But within the year, I'm looking for CLT, ATL, Bend, so getting into others and having a collective of other locations all together.
What's interesting is something can just go like wildfire in one place and do absolutely nothing somewhere else.
Right.
Do you think that this is something, especially a couple years on now, do you think that this is replicatable relatively easily in other locations?
I think we have a nice model, for one, that we can replicate. I think we would go to places that are remote worker spots, hot spots. So I know you've seen the list. We're number 2 on the list for, remote working. Bend, Oregon's number 1. Wilmington, North Carolina's 3. Charlotte's in there somewhere. Myrtle Beach is on there. So start with those. They're the hot spots.
So would those be your organizations, or would you want somebody to create their own nonprofit there that's associated with you?
I would probably have them as their own organization under us. So they don't have to do that filing and all that.
And then, so do you guys have like standards? So like when you look at what you do, again, when you think about business and you think about branding, I don't know, like what's your branding? What's your process that makes it something more than just going and getting beer together?
I'm too close to it, but I do hear we have a vibe that, the friendly, that's where people want to come hang out. And I think it's why we get so many people at so many events, because you feel welcome and you want to connect. You don't feel like you're getting business card after business card, in the business networking side of it. And so a lot of people are comfortable, and that's the model I want to keep working on, if that's what you're going after.
So I was thinking about it. And then, and from the money side, though, what's really interesting, again, it's really fascinating with Asheville. So you should have the perfect demographic. So you have new people, so people are new coming in, which means they need everything from houses to know where good beer is. And what I'll tell you about Asheville is we have awesome beer. We also have horrible beer. My first year here, I hated it because I drank so much bad beer because I didn't know what the good beer was. So you have new people.
We only go to good beer, just so you know.
There we go. No. So you have new people that need everything from beer to houses to everything else. They're remote workers, so generally, I guess they're not high net worth generally, but they're doing pretty darn well.
We're above average.
Above average, let's just say. And so, it's interesting then that you don't have people coming to you with money. I think about that with Asheville Young Professionals. So what Sean and Erica are doing, they got $15,000 from First Bank. Yeah, it's just curious with that. People really are not coming to talk to you, or
It's in process.
it's in process. Okay.
Well, we can't do anything until we get the 501c3 completed. So it's in process. I can't take the checks for another week or two.
So there are multiple checks.
There's stuff coming, yeah.
A stealth 501c3. We can't tell you what we do. Okay. No, I'm just curious about that. Again, for other people, I try to do business here and understand how that kind of works, because it is different.
But it is, people who would love to connect with our members, because so many new people to town. So there are, needing to get doctors and maybe legal help or, houses. So yeah, those are the type of businesses who would love to interact with us.
Yeah. Okay. And so, you're doing the funding for the 501c3. So you're at 1,200?
Right.
2,000?
Yep.
Okay. And then, so you guys were doing 2 events per week or per month, 1 or 2 events per month, all the way up until the beginning of this year. And it was funny because, again, I keep poking Corey and Sarah. And literally stopped poking Corey and Sarah's fine, okay, you're not a business, whatever, I'm not going to bug you anymore. And then literally the next week, I start getting bombarded in my Meetup stream of all of the events that you're going to be doing. And so now, like I looked at it, so you went from 1 or 2 a month to in June you had 20, in July you had 19, and in August you had 16 events. What in the hell changed in January to go from 1 or 2 to 20?
I'm really good at helping people volunteer. Late winter, Corey, Sarah, and I had been talking too many times about we need more people to organize, need more people to organize. And there are times that I go, I'm done. We're going to do something different than talk about it. So we had an event of organization. If you're interested in volunteering and organizing, come to the event. Figured we'd have a dozen people maybe. Because, a lot of people, and they, hell, I'll help. And I'm like, oh, okay. We had 25 show up. The best part was after giving my kind of vision spiel, then everyone started coming up with ideas. We should do community service. We should do outdoor recreation. We should do this. I'll lead that. I'll lead this. And that's, boom, just literally, like you said, overnight. That we went from a couple events to, how many? 20?
Yeah, June you had 20, July you had 19. Yeah, because I actually pulled up the calendar and it was like, yeah, you had multiple events per day sometimes.
Cool,
Just
huh?
for you, yeah.
Yeah, and we're very intentional about our branding because we want people to see the consistent, our name out there, and that we are somebody, that we're a serious group.
So how do you vet what should be a Nomads event and what shouldn't be a Nomads event? Or do you?
People do bring it across, but we haven't turned anyone down. We, again, like I mentioned earlier, we experiment. So try it. And one thing we're really good at is people showing up. And so no matter, can't even say a crazy thing that I don't know if it'll happen. Oh yeah, middle of the day, random, let's do coffee for an hour. I'm like, yeah, sure. Stacy fills up, I don't know, 10, 15 slots within an hour. It's just booked. Yeah.
And so one of the big problems with Meetup is people RSVP, they don't necessarily show up. With those kind of events, how many people are actually showing up?
Well, they take a wait list, and we've got a process of trying to, the day before, if you're not going to be able to come, step off so others will automatically step down. We're now, for 80% will show. So we'll typically overbook the event, so then we get what you want.
That's cool. So is there a max number of events? If you got to 100 events a month, would you be like, let's get to 200? Like,
I am kind of aggressive like that. No. Yeah. I don't know.
Just keep going.
We'll see how it goes. Yeah.
That's good. Do you get concerned at all? Because I was talking to you earlier today about you guys have kind of become the 8,000-pound gorilla in the Meetup world. Like, God help you when you have to compete against them because it really sucks. Like, do you ever?
We're friendly. Come on, Eli.
Well, no, but until you like do an event at the same time, and all of a sudden it's like a massive vacuum. Just that, do you think about that? Does that come across your decision-making process at all?
No. Except for, because you were different when we were doing our AI event, and Ben said, well, I don't want to do it on Eli's night. I'm like, oh, yeah, okay. Because I really like what you do, and we don't want to do that. I want to be, friends and help the community out. So we'll just do it on a different night. That was easy.
But you guys like look at the schedule, like if you're going to do something on Wednesday and happen to be on a Meet the Geek night, would you just be like, sucks for them?
I'm sorry, Steve, but I'm not paying attention to when your events are. I am paying attention when Brock wants to do a cocktail night the same night that Holly's doing leadership. I'm like, okay, our own selves, let's be careful. That's what I'm more concerned about.
Okay, cool. So I've gone to your events, and it has been insane. Like when people talk about the influx into Asheville, I don't think you quite grasp it till you go to a Nomads event. And people are like, oh, how long have you been here for? It's like, oh, I've been here a while. I've been here like 2 months. And you're like, somebody's like, oh man, I've only been here 3 weeks. I've been here 2 days. Really? I've been here 5 days. Like I was at some, like, again, so it was a year ago I went to your event. So I've been here a year. And I'm like, oh, I'm a newbie until I'm like in the middle of 10 people that have been there for less than a month, right? And I'm like, what the? Do you, with where you're at, like, do you get a feel for, do you think this influx is going to continue?
It's the same way I think about the breweries. How can there be another brewery? If there always is. And the influx doesn't seem to be stopping or slowing down. So I don't have that crystal ball. Maybe you picked up something in this morning's talk on it, but it sounded like they see it.
Yes.
Economic development sees it as, growing pretty steadily as well.
So you think the remote workers are just going to keep coming?
Yeah, I want to attract more, getting back to the naming, true digital nomads, people who are traveling through. Almost every event, I'll meet somebody who, comes up and introduces and, oh yeah, I do a week here and coming through and going through, and they happen to see us on Meetup. What I love is when I hear the stories of, well, I was in DC and I was going to go through and headed to Austin, probably, came to an event. Like, great. Then I came to another event. And they went, this is one woman I'm thinking of a year ago, and came to a third event and decided to stay. Jeffrey Kaplan was here at that event. I'm like, dude, you got to hear this. And so it's nice when I feel that, when I'm told that it's nice to be here because there's a community of people like me. And they get me. So that makes me feel great.
And then with the group, so you have so many people now, so you've got 2,000. But the interesting part with Meetup is people sign up for groups, but you never have to resubscribe.
Right.
So how does churn look for you? Like, have you started to notice churn at all? Like, how often do people actually come to your things? Do they keep coming after a year or two?
I'm really anal on looking at the numbers. So yeah, we do our net of about 80 a month. So we're net 80 a month gain. So that includes people dropping off. And especially I'll notice them, because I'll look to the people who leave, they are moving on to Colorado or they've changed and they are moving through. So that's cool. At some point I need to stop talking about we're at 1,800, 1,900, 2,000. Because let's be honest, really, there's a third who have never come to anything. They sign up for probably the best of intentions and whatever, never do it.
And so, since you've done business as such before, have you looked at, so Meetup is what it is. It's good for what it's good for, and it's shockingly bad at many other
Terrible
things.
tech.
It's terrible
Terrible
tech.
tech.
They stopped developing in like 2013.
Yeah.
So have you looked for a platform to actually try to make managing the nomads better, like some kind of like membership type platform, so you can actually keep track of people and do communication and all that kind of stuff a little bit better?
You and I have talked about this, but for YouTube and everyone else, we have moved to Meetup Pro officially, and we do get much better stats and management. But you can't beat their reach for people coming through and just finding us on Meetup. So I don't want to leave Meetup. But because of Meetup Pro, we can move to more of a CRM and have something in between there.
Have you taken a look at like anything that might actually be useful for you? Because that's what everybody says, like, oh, use a CRM. It's like, great, there's like 5,000 CRMs, which one? Have you actually like narrowed it down at all out of curiosity?
No, but I'm waiting for one of our brilliant tech people in the group to help out with that.
So what does your background then look like? So you said you worked in nonprofit, or you worked like management for selling to nonprofits?
No. I've been in tech my entire career, so for a long time. So I came out of school as a systems analyst developer, working in Big Iron IBM.
Oh, okay.
Or Southern New Hampshire University, another alumni right there. And so I came out, picked via IBM, and I'm just in the tech world and then was IT director at a hospital after a couple years after that, and then started my own business.
And so, did you say what do you do now? Like, what's your?
No, I didn't say, actually.
Oh, you didn't say. Okay, yeah.
So I've had multiple startups, exits, and a lot of executive roles, every level of a software company you could do. So I'm now a COO and product head for a nonprofit.
And then I guess the final question then I'll turn it over to the audience. So I guess there's no real exit for Digital Nomads itself. Like, is there an exit for you? Like, is there some place, like you want to hit a target and then you'll go off and do something else? Or is this until you get too old to deal with it?
I'd like to retire doing it. How's that?
Good deal. Cool. So, Tomer, if you can turn on the thing. So, do we have questions? Digital Nomads.
No, I just want to say, because
Oh, no, you have to use them.
Yeah.
I moved here a couple months ago, and your group was the first group I joined, and it's been amazing. I've been in a lot of groups, and it's just something about this group. It's got that je ne sais quoi vibe to it. And my highlight today was when I found out I was taken off the wait list, but could attend the Greenworks Saturday. But you guys have really done a great job, and I appreciate all the work you guys do towards it.
Thank you very much. And I'll be paddling with you on the Greenworks. We're doing a cleanup on the river, by the way. So get on the wait list.
So I want to ask kind of a big picture question. This is something I ask guests on my podcast. If you can imagine Digital Nomads fulfills your wildest dreams, what would Asheville and maybe the nation look like in 20 years?
Will, you are a deep thinker, dude. I love it. I love how talking to you. I'm working on distilling this, Will, just so you know. But I see Digital Nomads, pockets larger as a collective, but as a cohesive unit. I can contrast it with, and I'm told that if we were a company here in Asheville, we'd be the third largest company. So think of us as a unit and all the amazing intellectual capacity that this group has. Because there's so many people across so many careers at very high levels, relatively. And if you've been to some of the conversations, the leadership and the AI group and all that, it's like, wow, holy cow, these people are amazing. Well, now if we're a unit and we're helping the community, and the people who want AI education or other tech stuff can plug into us, we have economic power. So that's why we had the thing today with economic development, because I think we could shape things in what we do. We are highly paid as a unit, so we should have a seat at the table. So I think it's a different way to think about workforce, that it doesn't all have to be companies residing in the region, but it's a collective of really smart people together.
Curiosity question, how many of your members are probably own their own company or are doing their own thing versus being an employee of some larger company that just happened to be working here? Do you have any idea of the split between those two?
Not exactly numbers, but we do have quite a few software companies or other companies who are here, but they're all remote. And their staff may not be here, but the execs are here, or some of the people are here. So we do have quite a few of those. We have a lot of freelancers, a lot of consultants kind of work, quite a few wantrepreneurs who, thinking about it, need that shove. So last night, what night am I on? Last night there was the pitch party, which we played a part in. So help out, because it'll all come back to us. I hope that answered your question.
Any more questions? Oh, not very questiony night. Cool. Okay.
You
Well,
did such a good job.
there you go. Got all the
Yeah.
questions there. So final. I guess you're not hiring. So what are any final thoughts to tell the folks?
Join and partake and jump in. Make some friends. You also just made friends is my word today because we like making friends. We like helping people make friends. And announced this morning that our premier event is Friendsgiving. So, and so November 15th, Wednesday, we will have our second annual Friendsgiving event at the Mule, Devil's Foot Brewery. And look to have, that's all ours for the entire night, the whole place. And so we'll do potluck, because we'll all share, all friends, and have a great time.
Okay. Well, thank you for coming and having a nice little conversation. Yeah.
Cheers.
Cool.
Thank you.
So again, ERC Broadband brought us lovely pizza. What I will say is when you get pizza sponsors, they love buying pizza as long as it gets eaten. So if you are hungry, eat more pizza. That's how we get. It's kind of like the government process. The more pizza you eat, the more pizza you get. If you don't eat the pizza you got, you won't get as much in the future. So just kind of think about that. So if you're hungry at all, please eat as much pizza as possible. And so yeah, just stick around. We'll be here for a while. So
And your cookies.
And cookies.
Don't forget Eli's cookies in the middle there, by the way.
I feel like my cookies got overshadowed. That's some good pizza tonight.
Yeah, that's good. Those are great, good cookies.
Cool.